There has never been a more important time for women to be financially savvy and smart with their money so that we can actually achieve financial freedom. But if you're anything like me, then the more you work, the more you spend, and you never actually give your money the opportunity to work for you. There is this tension between wanting to save money, wanting to set my future self up for success, but also wanting to enjoy the present moment, wanting to spend money on things that give me this temporary sense of joy or pleasure. But what I've recently discovered is that these two desires don't necessarily need to be at odds with one another. And I feel like this is best embodied by the concept of frugal chic, which was originally coined by the creator Mia McGrath here on YouTube. It's essentially an approach to living that focuses on intentional spending, buying less and buying better, so that we can live a life that feels luxurious while still being financially savvy. Honestly, I think this is such a beneficial mentality to have, and I'm going to be personally sharing my frugal chic habits that I am adopting this year. Habit number 1 is buying less and buying better. However, I wanted to make it a smart goal, so I'm challenging myself to only buy 12 things in 2026, so one thing a month. And just to be clear, these are wants and not needs. I'm obviously going to be buying groceries, basic necessities, toiletries, all that jazz, but I'm challenging myself to only buy one want a month. I recognize that for some people, this feels like a really restrictive rule. However, for me personally, I feel like it is very freeing. I'm someone who's always dealt with a lot of consumer guilt, whether or not I'm being budget conscious in my purchasing decisions. So I feel like this rule actually helps me get away from this scarcity mindset because I'm giving myself permission to invest in a quality piece, and I'm actually allocating an appropriate budget so that I can purchase something that is higher quality each month rather than spending more money on a bunch of lower quality items. So that is frugal chic habit number 1. We're only halfway through January and I already feel like this is a life-changing habit. One, I feel like it has forced me to be so much more intentional with my purchases like I've never been before in my life. And I'm actually excited to sit down and make a purchase, and I don't feel the desire to buy a bunch of different things impulsively that I didn't necessarily need. I'm excited to go through and consider the quality and fabric of the piece that I'm going to buy. Not only that, I feel like it's already helped me hit my savings goals for the month. In the first half of January, I've already saved $1,250, which is like unheard of from me. Granted, I have more of my bills coming due in the second half of the month, but all that to say, putting limits around the number of items you're going to purchase in a month is incredibly effective for helping meet your savings goals without feeling really restricted and adopting this scarcity mindset. I would challenge you to think of this habit as being really freeing rather than restrictive. It genuinely feels like a luxury purchase because you are taking so much time to consider what that one item will be. On the topic of buying less and buying better, habit number 2 is going to be focusing on natural fibers where it makes sense. I understand that some activewear, it makes more sense to buy synthetic fibers just because they wick better. However, for my everyday pieces and the pieces I will be investing in throughout the year, I want to be focusing on natural fibers that feel good against my skin, that feel luxurious every time I put them on. Right now, I'm really focusing on looking at affordable cashmere and merino wools for some of the basics I'm going to be purchasing in January and February. And if you feel kind of overwhelmed with the prospect of learning about natural fibers, I would highly recommend checking out the creator on TikTok, Alex Ma. He makes really cool educational videos about different types of natural fibers. Like he made one on the difference between genuine leather and other grades of leather. He made another one about cashmere that was so interesting. I highly recommend checking out his page because I feel like it will just give you this huge wealth of knowledge when it comes to making intentional purchases and investing in high quality pieces. And I just want to say, I feel like a lot of creators have been criticized for promoting the idea that everyone should be investing more in natural fibers. And I would tend to agree that a lot of natural fibers are not accessible to the average consumer unless you're purchasing from a brand like Uniqlo or Quince that has genuinely affordable cashmere or merino wool goods. However, you can still find natural fibers within your price range if you shop secondhand. This is something that I have done for many, many years. I think some of the best quality pieces I have in my wardrobe are secondhand. They're from a time when companies used a higher proportion of natural fibers in their clothing, and they've really stood the test of time. So even if purchasing new clothing made from natural fibers feels out of your budget, I would really urge you to purchase secondhand. There is no shame in the thrift game. Ultimately, it's good for the planet and it gives you a really good eye for quality. I feel like we all have a responsibility to invest more in natural fibers, whether that's something that you're purchasing intentionally brand new or you're seeking out at a secondhand store. And it's something that you are going to feel the benefit of every single day because it's just going to feel so much more luxurious when you go to put on that item versus something like a poly blend that just feels cheap against your skin. So that is frugal chic habit number 2, focusing more on natural fibers and really paying attention to the quality and care and craftsmanship that was put into the garments that I'm purchasing. Habit number 3, and this is one I'm super excited about, especially because we are new to living in Calgary and new to living downtown, and that is enjoying third spaces. So if you're not familiar with the term third space, it's basically a space that's separate from home, separate from work, that people come to socialize, to hang out, to enjoy, that is completely free of charge, and you are not obligated to be there. So something like parks, libraries, those are examples of third spaces. I feel like learning to recognize and enjoy spending time in third spaces is key to the frugal chic mentality because it can impart a feeling of luxury without spending any money. So for example, in downtown Calgary, we have this beautiful skating area. It's on the river. It's cleared by the city. They've set up these fire pits there. There are string lights and Christmas lights all around the space. It's really a beautiful ambiance, and it is completely free to use and access. We also have some gorgeous parks and public spaces in the city, like the Central Memorial Park. And even within our own building, we have access to this beautiful patio, to these common areas and games rooms that are not technically third spaces because we pay to live in the building and therefore we have access to them. However, they can still elevate our day-to-day life if we choose to spend time in them. For us, this is a very important habit to integrate into our daily life because we've always been the type to spend exorbitant amounts of money on our date nights, and we have access to all these beautiful spaces for free, and we should really take advantage of them to help cut down on costs so we can save for our wedding. If you're someone who feels like they can't leave the house without spending money, I would really encourage you to look into third spaces available to you. So maybe you typically go to a cafe and you spend like $10 on a latte to study or to read there. You could consider making your latte at home, bringing it to the library, and then you have a beautiful space to work in, and you're not having to spend a crazy amount of money to caffeinate. So that is habit number 3, learning about third spaces in your neighborhood that you have access to and taking the time to enjoy them. Habit number 4 is reading over scrolling. I don't know about you, but it feels like whenever I scroll on social media, every other post is a post that's trying to either subtly or very obviously influence me to purchase something. And I feel like the more we expose ourselves to this type of content, the more we feel like we're not enough as it is, and we need to buy things to fill some sort of void, or that purchasing this product will ultimately make our life better. And 9 times out of 10, it absolutely will not. There have been very few instances in my life that I have purchased a product that I considered truly life-changing. So in order to combat this, I'm trying to take full advantage of media that is not directly trying to influence me. So I actually have a fairly extensive library of audiobooks on Audible, and I am making a conscious decision to consume these as my form of media rather than scrolling. Granted, I'm not perfect. I know that there will be times when I do a little doom scroll, but I think a very important aspect of the frugal chic mentality is exposing yourself to new ideas and new perspectives rather than just mindlessly consuming a vast amount of content that ultimately leaves you feeling drained and confused and a little bit depressed. I really do feel like we're coming into an age where slow hobbies like reading or certain creative pursuits are considered a luxury. I'm trying to consciously focus on habits that are going to elevate my life in some way rather than just drain my energy and attention span. And I also don't like the idea that I've wasted money purchasing these books that I've never even bothered to read. So here I am cashing in on those investments. My next two frugal chic habits relate to food, and one is taking intention and care around presentation of my dishes. Obviously, we have to eat every single day, and I feel like an easy way to just add luxury to that everyday experience is investing in nice home goods. And full disclosure, almost all my home goods are thrifted. I have a bunch of examples of home goods that I've thrifted that I feel like just elevate my everyday experience of eating. These blue china plates are my pride and joy. I eat dinner off of these almost every single night. These are really beautiful. They have a nice weight to them. I love the subtle scalloped edges. I am just obsessed with this find. I think I bought 4 of them for $12.99, and I feel like every time I serve myself food on it, even if it's just a girl dinner that I've thrown together, it automatically elevates that experience and it feels like a form of self-care. I also thrifted a set of 4 of these large square bottom wine glasses. I will pull these out even if I'm not having wine, if I just want my beverage to feel fancy. A set of 4 of these cost maybe $4 or $5, and I feel like they just add so much class to my mealtime. I am obsessed with these. Okay, this is not necessarily an everyday item, but I have this little sterling silver serving tray, and at the party we hosted, we put like chips and dip on this, and I feel like this was such a cute, like $2 find that just elevates the experience of having chips and dip at a party. Thrifting nice home goods is something that I've been doing for years now, but I want to continue in 2026 because we're getting married and we're having a little toast at our apartment, and I want to just thrift a bunch of nice crystal champagne glasses. These would be so unaffordable if I was to buy like 40 champagne glasses brand new that were crystal, but I guarantee you I can find some gorgeous, eclectic, different varieties of crystal champagne glasses that are just going to elevate what is already a very special occasion. My second frugal chic habit that relates to food is all about snacking. I'm not a huge snacker, but when I snack, I want it to feel like more of a luxurious experience. Snacks are such a great opportunity to like add some affordable luxury. Listen, I love a fresh oyster. I feel so luxurious every time I have them, but they are not something that is in the weekly budget. But I recently discovered you can buy canned oysters, and these are also delicious, like a smoked canned oyster with some like nice artisanal crackers. This to me is a snack that is actually relatively affordable, and it just feels so luxurious. It feels like I'm being really intentional with my snacking. I am having something that is actually going to provide proper nourishment and sustenance. I'm someone who has a history of anemia, and oysters are something that are a really rich source of iron. So again, this is a great snacking choice that like meets my nutritional needs and also feels elevated, feels a little bit luxurious, and like I'm giving myself a little bit of a treat. I'm all about finding ways to just elevate your everyday experience of eating. In fact, I just finished reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, and I feel like it really motivated me to like take more time and intention and care when putting together meals. So I feel like I'm quite mindful of that as like a frugal chic habit. It doesn't just have to be intentional snacking. I feel like there are other relatively cheap ways to just add a little bit of luxury to your meals, like buying fresh herbs or getting a basil plant. I think you can get them for like $4 or $5, and then you just have a little fresh garnish on your meals. It's not really adding that much in terms of nutrition, but it's just an extra easy step that makes a meal taste a little bit better, makes it just feel a little bit fresher, and like there was just a little bit more care put into it. Grating a little bit of dark chocolate over like ice cream or a dessert that you purchase in the store, I feel like just elevates it a little bit and can make it feel more like an intentional treat than like something you're going to eat and feel guilty about because it is, you know, not the most nutritious choice. I feel like wherever possible, it's good to just take that extra little bit of care into the food you're eating. It helps establish a really positive relationship with food. And like I said, it just makes an everyday experience that you have to do feel luxurious. My last frugal chic habit relates to self-care and specifically redefining how I think about self-care. So I feel like previously I would think of self-care in terms of beauty standards, and I felt like I had to spend money in order to give myself that experience of self-care. Classic example would be getting my nails done every single month. I used to get acrylics and those would cost $70, $80, sometimes $100 to get done every single month. And I would classify that as self-care, or I would just get sucked into the idea that I needed to purchase a ton of cosmetic products in order to actually look beautiful. Like I felt like the makeup I currently had wasn't enough and I needed to spend hundreds of dollars repurchasing new products that ultimately didn't really make me look any different, if I'm being completely frank with you. I would also do this with hair stuff. I have always felt self-conscious about my hair because it is incredibly thin, and the amount of money I have invested in bullshit hair products and tools that genuinely did not make my hair look any better. The point I'm trying to make is I have often fallen into the trap of feeling like I need to spend money to fix my insecurities or to feel better in some way. But I feel like the frugal chic mindset actually recognizes that those things do not make a meaningful difference in how you feel about yourself, and that self-care is actually caring for yourself, as in doing a better job of meeting your basic needs. For example, getting a good night's sleep is always going to trump buying an expensive eye cream to depuff your eyes. Taking the time to go to the gym and get a proper workout in is always going to trump buying a machine that you just stand on and jiggle. Drinking enough water in the day is going to make a much more meaningful difference in how glowy and hydrated your skin is, not spending an exorbitant amount on a facial moisturizer. Spending a little bit more on your fruit and veg bill is going to make such a bigger difference in your gut health than buying a shit ton of expensive supplements that aren't even evidence-based. This is what I mean by reframing the way I'm thinking about self-care and acknowledging that self-care is exactly that. Caring for myself and knowing that that will have such a more meaningful difference in my appearance, in my sense of self-confidence, than buying any one singular product. Granted, there are always going to be small cosmetic things that I spend money on that I feel like elevate my appearance. For example, I still get a shellac polish change every single month, but now I'm spending $25 a month instead of like $80 a month. Those are huge savings, and for me, this, in fact, looks and feels better. It looks a lot more natural. So for me, I'm spending less money and I actually feel more confident in my appearance as a result. I just feel like there are so many underrated, completely free forms of self-care that will make a bigger difference in your appearance and your energy levels than spending money on cosmetic purchases. Granted, I think there are always going to be cosmetic things that I invest in that give me a better sense of self-confidence. But outside of that, I feel like there's not a lot of things I need to actually spend money on in order to feel like the best version of myself. And I need to start making a conscious choice to always choose kind of the lifestyle forms of self-care rather than trying to throw money at a problem and hoping it'll make me feel better. But even beyond completely free things I can do that will make me feel 10 times better, like getting a good night's sleep, there are paid services that are forms of self-care that I can actually get coverage for. For example, I have coverage for massages. That's a form of self-care that feels very luxurious that I actually have benefits for that I have not once used. I also have health spending that can go towards things like a gym membership, although I don't really need that because we have a gym in our building, but there are other aspects of health spending that are forms of self-care that I have coverage for, and it's on me to take the time to figure out how that all works, how I can submit claims, and just take advantage of the forms of self-care available to me that I can be reimbursed for. So if you haven't already done that, I would urge you to do the same. I think this will make you feel vastly better than, like I said, throwing money at a problem that's not really going to be fixed by spending money. Despite what social media tries to tell you, the products that will change your life are very few and far between. I think you're far better off investing in free forms of self-care or forms of self-care that you actually might have coverage for. You are going to feel so much better on a daily basis, taking the approach that self-care is just doing a better job of meeting your basic needs and taking advantage of any coverage you have related to different forms of self-care like massage or gym memberships or health retreats. I can't speak for other countries, but I feel like in Canada, a lot of companies have some sort of health benefit, and it is well worth your time to look into it. Okay, that wraps up my frugal chic habits that I'm adopting in 2026. I hope this video helped you reframe how you think about luxury and intentional living, and hopefully you got some ideas of how you can still live a good life, a life that feels good, feels luxurious, while meeting your financial goals. If you like the style of video, consider subscribing. I make videos roughly every week, every other week. I hope you have a beautiful, blessed week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!